When it comes to cattle prices, 2014 has been an amazing year so far. But what's the market outlook as we head into fall? Marcus Brix from CattleFax joins us now. Marcus, we have seen phenomenal prices throughout this year on both fed and live feeder cattle as well as live cattle. What's your projections as we move into the fall?
Well, you're absolutely correct. I mean, we've seen astronomical price increases this year. Unfortunately, we do believe there has been a peak put in the feeder cattle market, and we should ease off slowly into the fall.
And give folks a little your perspective about what's driving this rally, and specifically what kind of anticipation do you have for feeder cattle throughout the fall months?
Sure. Well, we've seen signals for an expansion period for the last several years, but unfortunately due to drought and a long-term drought cycle, we've been unable to expand the herd as much as we've been trying to. This year, however, we've seen favorable growing season rains and pasture conditions have improved, and so we've seen greater intent to hold back heifers at the cow-calf sector, and we've seen just in general tighter supply.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about retention of heifers. Obviously, we saw some mid-year numbers from USDA. Tell us a little bit about how you analyze those numbers and what does it mean for the rebuilding of the U.S. cow herd?
Well, lower heifers means that there's going to be lower placements in the feedlot, which in general just means a tighter supply of fed cattle down the road.
How has the increase in moisture we've seen across the United States impacted the grain markets, Marcus?
Oh, we've seen great growing season rains, pushing the potential for this crop year to be over 14 billion bushels easily. We're projecting somewhere around 170 bushels per acre yield, which should keep corn prices in the mid to upper 380s.
Which should be very
range.
Positive for the cattle industry.
Absolutely, sure. And then these growing season rains have also really helped with pasture conditions. So forage should be cheaper than normal as well.
You bet. Let's talk about consumers for just a minute. Obviously, we've asked them to pay record prices at the retail counter for beef.
Sure.
Where do you see this headed in the future?
Prices should level off some coming into the next year, just purely because there's only so much leverage we can take off of the retailer and that consumers are willing to pay. So we can't stretch prices too much further, and demand has been fairly strong so far at these levels, so I believe they should be constant from here forward.
Yeah, surprisingly so. So let's look ex-U.S. I know the export market has driven a lot of this run-up as well.
Sure.
Give us your perspective of what kind of impact that's had, and what do you see in terms of exports going forward, Marcus?
Exports are booming, and they're very profitable for the cow sector, or the beef sector right now, actually. We just recently got full access to Hong Kong markets, and they've been one of our biggest exporters this past year. So we're bullish into the future on exports. Need to do more international business.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming and giving us your perspective.
Thanks for having me.
To find out more about the outlook for cattle markets this fall and into 2015, visit the website cattlefax.com.